The Campo and Joe podcast is brought to you by Bold City Heating and Air. Fast and reliable AC service.
Welcome in, Campo and Joe. I tell you what, man, I was looking forward to the first game under the lights, a Monday night atmosphere that we were looking forward to maybe being on the right side of the scoreboard, but it didn't happen. And I tell you what, Coach, as we open up Campo and Joe, we are an 0-3 city right now. We got a lot to get into. Joe C. from XL Primetime, our head coach, Dave Campo. And look, I want to get a smile on this man's face because he's Mr. Positive, but damage has been done in Duval with what has gone on the first three games.
Well, unfortunately, you see here I have my Miami Hurricane shirt on because that's the only thing I can get excited about right now.
Smartly.
Other than the Yankees. And I'll wear my Yankees to primetime the next time.
That sounds good. All right, so honestly, I don't know how many of you out there or how much in terms of what we thought score-wise that this game would be on the right side, that Jacksonville would win it. You probably went into the game with a little bit of hope. You're thinking, you know what, anything can happen on a Monday night, yada, yada, yada. They've beaten the Bills the last couple of times. This has gone I think what you and I will be doing today is looking beyond this game for answers for this season, Coach. But let's at least start with the game.
Well, first of all, I don't know that there's much right or fun or anything that you can say about the game. Mm-hmm. We're just not playing very well as a total football team. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's got everybody the most concerned, me concerned, because if you can point to certain things that you can do to fix something, you can fix it. But right now, it goes from penalties to overthrows to sacks to pressures to picks against man-to-man coverage where guys are nowhere around the receivers. Mm-hmm. There are so many things that I don't know how you get that right. That's the concern to me going forward. And the thing that's disturbing about it is it's basically the same team we had last year with the exception of a few guys. And we were, 8-3 at one time last year at the beginning of the year. And then, the injuries hurt us badly. Mm-hmm. Well, this year, I don't know what the reason is that we're sitting where we're sitting.
Okay, so stay right there, okay? Because you said generally or basically, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but basically the same team. And the team last year was on a roll, and then we all know what has happened since really the beginning of December. With that number one seed on the line, they lost 5 of 6, and now they're on a 3-game loser. And Trevor is now the starting quarterback for 8 straight losses. Right. Okay, so you as a former head coach in the National Football League, if you have basically the same construct of your roster, what the hell is going on? Is it all coaching, or where does the problem lie?
Well, again, I'm not in the locker room,
right.
and you know how I felt last year that there was a disconnect somewhere along the line, but I really put a lot of it on the injuries, and guys getting upset because this guy wasn't performing because he was a backup guy or whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, when you look at this football team right here, I can make generalizations. Like if we talk about how much man's being played as opposed to zone man combination, whatever, I can answer that question. Mm-hmm. I can tell you defensively what has to happen. They're not affecting the quarterback at all.
100%.
So you could talk all you want about we've got a couple DBs hurt. Mm-hmm. A few guys get picked off because it's man coverage. Mm-hmm. Those are all things that are fixable. But if you're not rushing the passer, I can't understand it. The front four is and different guys are starting all the time on the inside. I'm not quite sure. 1 week it's Lacey and whoever. Right. Next week it's somebody else. I don't know how they get any continuity, to be honest with you.
And the last thing I want to see, and I'm just being dead 100% honest, trying to talk to all of Duval with a little bit of our heart on our sleeve, I do not want to see a starting defensive line that includes Yasir Abdullah, Tyler Lacey, and Jeremiah Ledbetter. I just don't want to see it. Those are backups. That's who they are. That's how they have entered the league. It's how they remain in the league. And you can't convince me that they should be starting over the big-time players that we're talking about. Now, let me give you a couple of quick numbers here.
Yeah.
Josh Allen had one pressure, one quarterback pressure on 28 rush attempts.
Right.
Trayvon Walker had 0.
Yep.
Eric Armstead had 1. So we're talking about, and I don't know the exact numbers of plays that Eric Armstead was in there, but the other two were in there a decent amount of time and never got to Josh Allen.
Yeah, and a lot of he has Nielsen has packages, and the packages include Abdullah as a base. Okay, he's playing the outside linebacker in the base defense, and when they go to base, he didn't affect anything yesterday. Believe me, one way or the other. Right. I mean, he was just out there. But when you look at Eric Armstead, for example, he only played 11 snaps at San Francisco. He was out there a bunch at end.
I think he basically signed here. And he got Trent Baalke to agree that he would be playing in.
Absolutely. And yet his only times that he really puts any pressure on the passer is when he's inside. Now, he's an older guy. One time at defensive end, well, first of all, he got run over a couple times. That's neither here nor there. Sometimes a guy gets you on you, and he's a physical guy. What are you going to do? But there was one time where the ball was snapped, and it was literally almost a second before he got moving. Now, you look at that and you say, hey, is a little age there or whatever, or a little tired or whatever. He's certainly not going to affect the passer when he doesn't get off on the snap of the football.
Yeah.
Now, the other two guys, they're just not, they're not playing very well.
Yeah, I think you can't get away from the fact that one was a number 1 overall pick. The other one was a top 10 pick. Josh Hines Allen did enough to get a massive contract this offseason. He is a good football player, and I thought scheme-wise it would put him back in a position where he could come hand down and go basically get the quarterback. And we're talking about two individuals that are talented human beings, and I don't even know if I want to blame it on scheme. They need to be better at the job they were drafted to do.
Well, first of all, I watched Trayvon Walker a lot, and I'm disappointed because he has not taken the next step. He still is a Velcro bull rusher. That's what he is. And, when you bull rush a guy, half the time, by the time the quarterback is ready to start moving, if he's coming out of the pocket, half of the time you're almost standing straight up. And the one he tried to spin, he probably got held a little bit, but he spun inside, but he was straight up in the air. Like this, he's no way he's getting off of anything.
He's trying to rush. He's trying to rush in reverse.
Yeah, he was backing into the guy, and of course Allen slips outside and throws a touchdown pass. But it's just a lot of disconnect all the way around, and I just don't see the guys progressing like I thought they would, especially with Nielsen being a defensive line pass rush guy.
Yeah. I thought the most encouraging thing was one-score losses, a 5-point loss, a 3-point loss, and you felt like this defense was turning a corner. I'll give you one kind of blow-me-away stat that I had earlier today, just to kind of paint the picture for this defense, is when you go back to the first game, they were up 14-0. We all know that they ended up letting Miami get back in the game, and they won. Miami has not led a single second this season, yet they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars because they won on the game winner as time expired. But they have led without leading a single second of a game. They were the highest yardage total offense last year and the second highest scoring offense. And look how they've been neutralized. Isn't it crazy?
You lose Tua, that's part of it. But you look at Cleveland. I mean, they have been abysmal on rushers. They had like 6 sacks from the Cowboys. I think they had 5 sacks this week.
8.
Oh, 8.
8.
Okay.
He's been sacked 14 times in 2 ball games.
Okay. Well, and we didn't get a sniff of them, really. I mean, when you really look at it. So something is going wrong. Something has to change.
Yeah.
And, I think you have to find a way to get some pressure on the quarterback. That's all there is to it.
The New York Football Giants, 9 players were credited with at least half a sack against Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
They got to him, got him on the ground. Yeah. This team was only able to get to him a couple times.
Yeah.
And so in 2 ball games, 14 sacks against the Jags, 2 sacks. It's just awful. Now, when you just said something's got to change, I'm sure I'm going to get to some of these other numbers, but let's just deal with this part of it. Doug Peterson says everything is on the table. What does he mean when he says that, and how many changes do you think can or will be made?
Well, some of it's going to be injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys are going to come back. Maybe Savage might come back.
Right.
There'll be some changes that way, but they're going to have to look at everything, including the coaching staff. Press is still calling the plays, guys.
He is.
Yeah, the only way you can tell that is that they were zeroing in on him when they were playing poorly. Mm-hmm. They will look at it, and he's calling the plays. Now, maybe that's by design. Maybe.
Did you see Doug a little more active on the headset last night? Just
maybe.
A little bit more?
In the second half, I did, but not in the first half. He was kind of deer in the headlights the first half.
Okay, so let's go to the Doug part of the equation. And you mentioned not much has changed roster-wise. We can blame Balky for that. We can get right on the Balky disastrous drafts. We can definitely attack that. But at the same time, Doug Peterson comes in with Super Bowl winning credentials, takes a team basically out of the ashes to the playoffs, 9-win season, and everything is great. We all know what happened. After that, the exact same record, but an entirely different result at the end of 23. Now they can't pull themselves out of this. And I think the thing that is the most concerning or troubling or has Jaguar fans really pissed off is that this team seems to be lifeless and uninspired. Is that not a direct reflection of the head coach?
Well, it's a direct reflection of the entire coaching staff.
Okay.
Because, Doug has made a big thing in his press conferences that the leadership is – people are trying to lead, but they're not getting done. Somebody has to lead. If it's not the players, it's got to be the coaches. I mean, Leon Searcy says it all the time on prime time that – when they had a bad game or at the Steelers, the offensive line coach walked in and said, "Stand up." Mm-hmm. And he said, "Look, I just got my ass chewed out for you guys. It's not happening anymore.
Yeah.
And so here's what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to do it."
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, whether it's an assistant coach or whatever, something has to go. And what he means by that basically is that they're going to look at everything,
right,
from coaching to players to how he's practicing, all those things. But we've said this before. This isn't the first time that's come up.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
We're going to have to fix some things. So I'm not sure how it goes.
It's unbelievable that we went from, and I'll be the first to admit it, I felt like Doug Peterson had made significant changes in the staff, particularly on the defensive side, and that he was going to take more ownership of the offensive side, and that they were going to be a more cohesive unit that could come together and make plays. And then all this crap that Press Taylor said about how we're going to tear the run game down to the studs and rebuild it and all this kind of stuff, and it just has not manifested itself.
Well, we're kind of flipping around a little bit when we talk, which I guess you have to do to kind of get where you're going. But I was shocked that we didn't come out and run the football right away, because first of all, they can rush the passer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But you don't know if they could stop the run. We come out and throw the ball, I think 4, 5, or 6 times in the first 6 plays. And so, you kind of say to yourself, I would have gone up there. I'd have tried to slow the crowd down a little bit by running the darn football and then see where we go from there. But so there's a lot of those kind of things that are as I look at it, which is easy for me because I'm not coaching.
Right.
I'm not coaching.
Well, hey,
I can look at them and say, hey, this is how I'd look at it, this and that.
We're all geniuses the next day.
Yeah,
I don't mind playing that part.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they are hired to put a good product on the field. And I want to read the Shad Khan quote that came out from last month that I do think is worth pointing out. But the one big headline that came out of last night was that a person close to Shad said, quote, "Angrier than I have ever seen Shad. He is usually a reserved, kind gentleman. Not tonight." And so that came out of Demetrius Harvey's reporting. And I'm like, holy smokes. And I want to read the other quote from him that he said as far as the way the team has been constructed. He has to be ticked off that he continues to place faith, full faith, and checkbooks in guys that are in charge inside that building, be it the general manager and Trent Baalke or the head coach and Doug Peterson.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And
The Campo and Joe podcast is brought to you by Bold City Heating and Air. Fast and reliable AC service.
First of all, he never should have said this is the best team ever assembled with the Jaguars because they hadn't proved anything.
No.
You just don't make that statement. So that's kind of on him. So if I had made that statement, that's kind of a Jerry Jones statement. I'm going to be hopping mad too if I said that, and we look like we're looking right now.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, he should be upset because there's a lot of expectations on this, a lot of money he's spent, he's getting ready to build a stadium, all these things. He's had to put himself on the line with the city. All these different things, and the fans are hopping mad. Yeah. So he's got to be mad, and he's got to put the pressure on the coaching staff. There's no question about it. I've been there. Yeah. I know how that works. And you either get it done or it doesn't happen, one or the other.
So I guess I'm maybe asking the same question over and over and over, but it's driving me a little crazy. Is Doug Peterson not doing a very good job, and his job is on the line as early as 3 games into this football season?
Well, I like to think that that's not the case. I would like to think that, you have a little patience here.
Sure.
Regardless of what you think, 9-8 is better than 3-14 and 2-15 and 1-15.
Really hard to talk about canning a guy after those 2 seasons.
So, with that being said, though, if the hornet's nest gets too big, and all of a sudden, I don't know that we ever fill our stadium, do we? I mean, is it a full house?
No. Okay. I would say it's not 100% full.
Yeah, and what is it, 60,000? Yeah. Somewhere in that neighborhood?
In that neighborhood, 63, 65,000.
Okay. Well, it's maybe 58,000 right now. If it goes down to 50 or 49 or 48, now that catches the owner's attention more than the 9-8 or 8-9 or whatever your record is. And that's when you have to make a decision.
Yeah, let me tell you something. My Bud Light boys, my North Florida sales boys, they want to sell beer. Yeah. They want people in those seats partying, having a good time.
Right.
And the less people show up, there are going to be a lot of people that are surrounding this football team that aren't going to be as happy.
I got asked a few questions after the ball game about, is there a chance of him being let go and an interim going in there during the course of the season? And my answer to that really is, how bad does it get? And that's the answer.
Yeah.
If you start nobody coming to the games, if you lose, how do they? If they get in a losing streak, how do they lose the games? Right. Do they lose them by 20? Do they lose them by 5?
Right.
Do they lose them by 50? What is it? And that makes a difference whether or not you make a change. But I do believe that the seat is getting a little harder.
Oh, my gosh, yes. And even though it doesn't matter, both teams are 0-3, but the Cincinnati Bengals and the Jacksonville Jaguars both played Monday night games last night. And Joe Burrow and the Bengals team, they're no happier than Jacksonville, but they scored.
They did score 30-something points.
They scored.
Yeah.
And Washington, give them a lot of credit. We'll get into that at some other time. But anyway, they stayed in that game all the way to the end.
Yeah.
This team, largest deficit in franchise history occurred last night, 34-3 at the half. And, Coach, they scored around the 2-minute mark and then got the ball back and scored again with 2 dime throws from Josh Allen.
Yep.
It was humbling.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things to fix, and we can talk about those.
Let's do it.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to start with defense. Okay. This is just my opinion now, as I said earlier, because, who knows what's going on. But I know that, number one, you have to affect the quarterback. That's an organizational decision where they don't have a third guy, in my opinion, that gives you that opportunity. One of the reasons that we played halfway decent defense was when the guy that created Duval was here. The guy that's at the Titans. Outside linebacker.
Our man, the guy who built the Buckman and all that.
Yeah,
Arden Key.
Arden Key.
Yeah.
The key to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because you can say whatever you want, but if one guy isn't doing it, you got another guy that's got a chance. They don't have it.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Well, if that's the case, then you have to manufacture some things. Okay, that's number one.
Which is what I thought they would do.
Which I thought they were going to do.
Yeah.
Number two, I said this on primetime last week. The team that led the league last year in numbers of man-to-man coverages in the league was 38%. First 2 games, we were 54%.
That's
well, if you're 54%, then all you do is do what they did last night. You motion every play because now you're forcing guys, when they're supposed to be an outside leverage on a guy going in motion, they end up on inside leverage because they're running from behind. If you run from outside in, a guy that's supposed to be inside leverage on a guy in man coverage ends up outside because by the time he gets to him and gets set, the guy's already running up the field.
Right. And it's backs to the quarterback as well.
Well, that's part of it.
Yeah.
The other thing is that when you play all man coverage and they get you, what the offense knows what you're going to do based on whether or not the guy goes in motion.
Right.
You automatically get the pick routes. You get a guy coming inside on the guy that's got a guy going outside, and he has to get himself through those things, whether it's a screen or whether it's a wheel like they did, those kind of things.
Right.
Here's the problem. The problem is we got young players out there, okay? Jorian Jones, did you see the very first one to number 10?
Yeah.
Number 10 came inside. Jorian thinks he's going all the way across. Instead of keeping his eye on him, he's running across with him. He takes his eyes off him. He keeps running. 10 goes this way.
Yeah.
There's nobody out there.
Those are the things. And like you said, this is a secondary man.
I mean, those kind of things will kill you. But here's my point about that whole thing. Okay? Just like I say on offense, you have to be balanced. On defense, you have to be balanced. And it's very difficult to do if you're 54 to 40.
Right, 54%.
38%, whatever it is. They come to 100.
So basically, the guy or the team that did it the most was about 1/3 last year.
Correct.
This is over half.
Right. And so what happens in that situation is that when you play in 54% man, when you go to play a zone, you don't play it as well because you're not practicing it.
Okay.
So I think they have to even that up a little bit so that they can't get predictable. Okay? Turn it over to the other side of the ball. Predictability is what causes problems.
You better believe it because this team is
very predictable right now.
Yeah.
And whether or not that's the calls or whether or not the quarterback is checking off stuff on protections or whatever it is, the predictability can't be there. You have to be balanced. There's no question about that in my mind. And that's run to pass so that you get the play action game going. And believe me, the quarterback's not playing at 100% where he should be.
Yeah, because you could say there is a Doug, Trev, and Trent problem to this football team, and Trevor's not exempt from that. And he is starting to because of all the bad around him, he's starting to play worse and worse.
Right.
And he is starting to see, I'm not gonna go Sam Darnold on him and say that he's seeing ghost, but he's wanting to get out of that pocket a hell of a lot faster than he probably should.
Right.
Now, here are the numbers. Pressures allowed. And we mentioned earlier, Josh Hines Allen got to Josh Allen once in 28 pass rush attempts. Trayvon 0 times. Eric Armstead 1 time. Cam Robinson allowed 8 pressures.
Yep.
Brandon Sheriff and Ezra Cleveland, along with Mitch Morse, all allowed 3 pressures each. Walker Little and Anton Harrison, each with 2 pressures allowed because Walker had to come in for Anton.
Right.
Okay, you can add that up, Coach. That's 20. That's 21 pressures allowed. That's ridiculous.
That's what we need on defense.
Exactly.
And we don't have it.
Right.
But, and really, to be honest with you, if you're just talking about players, we've been on the tackles. The inside guys really, in my opinion, didn't play bad. And Harrison really didn't play bad.
No.
He really didn't.
Yeah.
But the other guy Cam is awful right now. Yeah. I don't know what his story is, but he gets beat inside, he gets beat outside. And let me tell you, the first one he got beat outside, Trevor got hit right in the knee. I don't know why they didn't they call everything on us.
Yeah, they did.
That should have been a penalty. Yeah. But it's just, he's not playing well at all. No. And Little comes in and he gets a couple penalties. I'd rather have Little out there. Now, he may be out there if Harrison is hurt.
Right.
He may be out there. I'd rather have Little out there than Cam Robinson right now.
On the left side, yeah. It's awful. It's awful. All right, well, let's wrap up with this because we got obviously a lot of things that this team is taking on water on every level. But I want to go back to the quote real quick from Shad Khan, which he repeated on The Hunt, which is Jaguars.com. I was not misquoted. He basically said, winning now is the expectation. Make no mistake. This is the best team assembled by the Jacksonville Jaguars ever. Best players, best coaches, but most importantly, let's prove it by winning now. And you know what I say to that? You want me to read the tea leaves? Trent Baalke told Shad Khan, this is the best team this team has ever had.
Right.
And the other part of it was that he wrote big checks that would also suggest this is the best team this team has ever had. And this is what really, really fires me up. That's Trent Baalke making sure that Shad thinks it's the coach's problem.
Yeah, exactly.
That the roster's good,
right.
It's the coach's problem.
Yeah.
And I will just ask you, there is no flipping way this roster is anywhere near what this team had in 1999.
Yeah, and really, to be honest with you, this team I thought was better than what we had from last year.
Okay, I could go along with that.
And I still think it has a potential to be better if they're playing 100%. I don't think they're playing 100% right now. No. So, but that's a CYA operation, if you ask me.
That's incredible. All right, look. This was not what you were hoping for. And the thing is that I feel like the season feels like it's over in September. They can do something about it. Yeah. They can turn it around, but they head to Houston with more questions than answers.
Yeah, I'm a coach, and I don't look at it that way. I know all these percentages, but percentages are like this new generation of analytics. I look at it as we need to beat Houston.
Yeah.
And then we need to win the next one. And then we need to win the next one. Not worried about whether we're going to play the playoffs now. Right. We got to get right and give us a chance to be the team that we can be with the athletes we have.
Even with all those pressures allowed, that offensive line was not horrible yesterday or last night. It's the scheme. I 100% agree with what you said earlier. Don't invite the crowd into the game.
Right.
Start handling your business at the line of scrimmage and get people off you by running the football. Then you can start to complete a few higher percentage throws instead of taking it down the field.
And unfortunately, what we paid Trevor, this doesn't sound good, but take a little bit of pressure off the guy.
Yeah.
A guy can make throws, but there's other things that are causing him to overthrow a guy or do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
because
that one overthrow was horrible.
Because in 7-on-7, he could make that throw all day.
Yeah. Well,
so that means, and he had no pressure on that one.
none.
That was a play action. That was a two-man route.
Right. So just imagine if they actually ran the ball with effectiveness, how that play action would work.
My point is that something in his mind is causing that, and it's because he's not sure about what's happening, even on the ones that when he's not pressured. So
he completed less than 50% of his passes in the first half. Yeah. And we'll end on this. The only guy with a less completion percentage going into last night's game, and it may still not be true, was Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
That is no bueno, Coach.
Right.
All right. Let's see where they go. Coming out of the Houston game, listen, we'll be here. Campo and Joe, as far as we know, we're undefeated.
The Campo and Joe podcast is brought to you by Bold City Heating and Air. Fast and reliable AC service.